Hi, all. Thanks for joining us. I'm here today with our Senior Business Development Consultant, Nancy Clappel. We're going to ask her one of our pressing questions that we've been wondering, and we'll see what comes of it, and then have you reach out to us if you have any questions of your own. So today's question we have for you, Nancy, is that many of our clients are really trying to get more business. Let's be frank. Can you share some quick insights on business development in the design industry?
Sure. So one of the things we often don't recognize is that we're entrepreneurs. And like any entrepreneur, there's working in your business, which is working for your clients and doing your billable work. And there's working on your business, which is making sure your business is run properly and that you're fully booked with client opportunities on into the future. And often while we're busy delivering excellent design work, we are not necessarily paying attention to making sure our backlog is full. The bad news is that if you're noticing that, you're already a little bit behind the curve. The good news is that you can address that. And once you learn to address it and begin to address it, you want to keep doing it indefinitely so that you don't end up in that situation again where you have a rapidly emptying backlog without enough work ahead of you to keep your staff fully deployed. I think what people need to recognize is that the only sustainable way to do business development as an entrepreneur is to find small amounts of time every single day throughout the week and do some every day. When you look back, the accumulated result of 100 and 200 small actions is always going to be more effective than a concentrated period of time, which it's really kind of an illusion to think that's possible. And of course, who has that time? I know I don't have that time. And I, live and breathe and walk and talk business development all day, every day with my own clients.
We have our full service offerings, which I know, Nancy, you work with our clients in longer engagements. But the exciting thing is that we've worked hard to make it more bite sized. So share with everyone just kind of what that looks like.
Sure. Well, often the hardest thing is getting started. And that's both in terms of making the time and making sure you have the resources available to address it, even if you've cleared the time. So, what it looks like is a preliminary sort of orientation towards the kinds of things you need to be thinking about and the kinds of activities and tasks you need to be not only making room for, but doing some research to support. And, I believe that business development is a team sport, and more importantly, I believe it is a full team sport. So it's not just a question of, what can I do as the business owner? It's rather a question of what can I do and what kind of program can I develop to share with my entire team to encourage them to carry some of the weight alongside me. Because, I'm sure everyone can recognize how difficult it is for one single person to provide all of the work that's going to feed a larger firm with 5 or 10 or 15 people. And similarly, the opportunity for one person to be out there in the world and who they're going to encounter, whether by plan or by chance, is limited to 7 days and, all the places they can be in their life. And if 10 people or 5 people or 3 people are doing that, obviously there are going to be a lot more opportunities to cross paths with the kind of opportunities you're looking for your business.
No, I think it's so interesting too. You talk about the team of any one firm being somewhat responsible for the business development as well, not just the owner. But I think what you have really struck a chord with in terms of what's crucial to that concept is that it's making certain that the messaging is consistent across the board, right? From the owner to down to every team member that's conveying this. And then being strategic about their use of time. I hear a lot of our clients, right, will try to and expect their team members to be out there doing business development. But if you're just constantly going to industry only events, that's not going to be as fruitful as getting out there and being in our communities, right? So I think it's just so much to say for your concept of leveraging the team, but you have to be strategic about it and not just expect that they're as good at business development or anywhere near your business development skills or the owner's business development skills.
Right.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
so let's take that apart a bit and let's address those things one at a time. So, talking about messaging, you always want to sound like you know what you're talking about. I mean, let's face it, no matter what you do, if you don't sound like you know what you're talking about, you're not going to get too far. And the best way to know what you're talking about is to have already decided ahead of time what that is. And that doesn't mean you're going to walk into a room and parrot some canned speech like a robot because you'll sound bizarre. but rather what you want to do is understand what it is that you say when you talk about what you do or you talk about your firm. Not memorize it, but understand it so that when someone asks you a question, you simply answer the question very naturally because you know the answer. Now, to take that a little further, once you do that, you want to teach that information to your entire team so that they then can answer the question in their own voice, whatever the question may be. And it will enable them to pivot to the next question and the question after that, rather than to offer too much information of a particular sort in the first moment and not really think about what it sounds like to the listener.
Yeah. And I think too, I know we're talking about teams, and so well-established firms this could work for, obviously, because they're ones with teams, larger teams too, for that matter. But is this kind of bite-sized mini series that you've developed something for everyone as well? So even the one woman show or one person firm?
Well, absolutely, because even a one-person firm can improve skills. Like one person, it all starts with one person. Once you improve your skills, then you can spread the word to everyone on your team, no matter how large or small your team might be. But you can still reap the benefits of walking through those paces on your own until you have a team. It really is not in any way team specific.
Right. Nice. And then a question we get often too when we're talking to clients around business development, right, is they're always wanting their ideal client, those quality leads, and they can pay for other leads. There are companies out there that people get leads from, and they're not the best quality leads. Either they're not vetted or they're not that caliber of clientele that they're looking for, right? So is that something you address as well and help them hone in on those quality leads?
Sure. So I would talk about that in a more indirect way. I think that the most effective way to network with business growth in mind is to network in a relevant professional community, because those are the people who are engaged in the kind of work and who are dealing with and crossing paths with the kind of clients you're interested in on a day-to-day basis. Lead services are kind of random, and lead services provide you with information that is, in some cases, not well vetted, in other cases, not well targeted, and yet still in other cases, too overly disseminated. And so, nobody can know the conversation you had with a colleague over lunch, but everybody can know the lead service information you've looked up in some sort of publicly available list. And I really encourage people to think hard about who it is that's in their network, who it is that's in their professional community that they can foster meaningful relationships with over time, so that there is a flow of meaningful and valuable information coming across the screen and over the wires, on the phone and in person all the time.
Here. And I'm certain firm owners will love it too. So just give us a bite size kind of snippet of what your bite size mini series and how it differs from that of the full service consulting that you do in the
Sure.
business sector.
So in the miniseries, we talk about concepts and we flesh out the concepts, but we don't flesh them out in any real detail because there isn't time for that. We talk about how you think through what it is that clients really want to hear from you. We talk about how it is that you create and structure an executable work plan while you're getting up to speed and developing the habit of being someone who does business development all the time. We talk about how you think about a budget to cover these things. And, simply put, if you have a budget and you know what that budget is supposed to cover, and time goes by and you realize that you haven't spent your budget, you can pretty well guarantee that you haven't done the things you've set that budget out for. And so one keeps the other moving along, and they're both a check on each other.
Nice. And I do love that we've created this mini series because I can't tell you how many clients, it's a hard ask to ask people for an hour, even a week. A lot of firm owners don't even already have that time. So love that we've got this more bite-size offering. And funny, you should just mention that budget. And what I want to talk about is that a lot of design firms don't even allocate and kind of decide for themselves what their budget is. So they're just not even making that cognizant decision. But even if they are making the cognizant decision of, that allocation of budget and what, one of the categories may be being marketing, i.e. this business development offering, what can you expect, or what do you share with clients to expect as an ROI for an investment?
Sure. Well, that's a tough one because the metrics are not consistent across the industry, and they have so much to do with the size of your firm, whether or not it's a mature market for your firm, to what extent you are engaging in different activities. And I would add to that the largest part of anybody's budget is something that they're doing anyway that they don't even track, which is the expenditure of their own time. The most expensive part of a marketing budget is the time you and your team put towards marketing and business development. And this is not to say that you should be multiplying that time, but rather that you should be tracking that time, because you don't know what you're spending if you're not tracking it. Further, I would say that one of the aspirations of doing a bite-sized program was creating something that was manageable so that people could get a fast start. And like the program's title, it's about getting in action. And to that effect, we've designed a program that really unfolds over about 2.5 to 3 weeks, with an intro session, 2 sessions a week for 2 straight weeks, and a concluding session. And that allows you to get a relatively discrete amount of information in a very short period of time. And I encourage everybody who's involved to begin taking the steps and walking through the things that the program articulates from the very first day. In fact, I had my first session with one of the 19th & Co. regulars today, and she was talking about how, when she could get started on a particular effort. And I said, well, you're going to want to prepare yourself to get started right away. You want to make that first phone call tomorrow if you can. And it doesn't really matter that the phone call be perfect, because over time it'll get better. No first phone call is going to be perfect.
I love that you say that. I am such an advocate of kind of that good enough, just because it's progress, or practice makes progress, right? And then
Yes.
also want to say too about that being able to take action immediately. And I think so much of what this mini series is an accountability partner that happens in the very immediate future. An accountability partner is the key, and is core to 19th & Co.'s offering. So thanks so much, Nancy. Really appreciate it.
Sure. And, if we have a moment, I'd love to add just one thing there, which is that nothing makes you feel better when you're uneasy about something like getting in action. And having an accountability partner and getting started is really going to be the answer to that terrible sinking feeling of, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because by the time you're answering that question, once you've gotten started, you're already doing it. And yes, you'll course correct along the way. Eventually, you're going to end up exactly where you need to be. And over time, where you need to be is going to change. So what you're going to learn is the skills, and you're going to develop what I like to call the muscles of just showing up and doing the work.
I love it. Well put, perfectly put. Thanks, Nancy.
Okay.